Hollywood was stunned when Robert De Niro, a cinematic legend whose charisma has captivated audiences for decades, was nearly thrown out of the Rubin Report studio after an explosive confrontation no one saw coming. What was meant to be a routine interview to promote his new film about media manipulation spiraled into chaos, revealing a side of Dave Rubin that his million-strong ex-audience rarely sees so openly. In a shocking display of bravado, Rubin, known for his provocative rhetoric, pushed De Niro to the brink until the situation erupted like gunpowder. Show insiders now describe a tense backstage atmosphere and a power struggle that nearly derailed the broadcast. If you thought you knew Dave Rubin, think again. Follow updates and share your thoughts on X under your Rubin vs. De Niro, as this story unveils what lies behind the facade of one of 2025's most controversial hosts. According to sources close to the production, tensions began brewing before the cameras even rolled on May 26, 2025. De Niro arrived at the Los Angeles studio in good spirits, ready to discuss his film, which had already sparked heated debates about free speech in the age of algorithms and digital censorship. Crew members described him as professional and genuine. He shook hands with technicians, joked with the makeup artist about early call times, and thanked the team for accommodating his tight schedule. But the mood shifted when Dave Rubin appeared backstage minutes before the show. "Dave seemed off," shared an anonymous assistant director. "He barely acknowledged Bob, muttered something about changing the show's timing, and complained about reshuffling guests." This cold reception was the first sign that the interview wouldn't go smoothly. In 2025, with trust in media at a record low of 16% per Gallup polls and every public appearance ripe for viral fame or failure, De Niro stepped onto the stage as if entering a battlefield, where every gesture would be dissected on X and TikTok. The studio buzzed. Spotlights glared, audience smartphones flashed with number Rubin versus De Niro posts, and cameras captured every move. Rubin, in a sharp gray suit, sat at the desk with his signature smile, teetering between hospitality and provocation. His eyes gleamed, as if he were already plotting to unsettle his guest. The audience, a mix of fans and skeptics, waited with bated breath, phones at the ready. Rubin started lightly, his voice warm but with a subtle jab. "Bob, you're a legend, everyone knows it. But tell us, are you the guy who's up at 5 a.m. catching the sunrise? Or are you burning the midnight oil when the world's asleep?" The question seemed innocent, perfect for a warm-up. But in the context of the show, it was the opening move in a chess game. The audience chuckled and someone tweeted, "Rubin starts soft, but we know what's coming." Or Rubin vs. De Niro. De Niro tilted his head, a faint smile curling his lips, but his eyes stayed sharp. "Early mornings?" he replied, his Brooklyn accent calm but firm. "On set, you get up when they tell you, Dave. But the real question isn't when you rise. It's how you keep your head clear when everyone's trying to mess with your mind." The audience laughed quietly, sensing De Niro deftly steering the conversation to a sharper tone. Rubin nodded, his smile widening but tinged with challenge. "Clear head, huh? Interesting, Bob, because clarity's rare these days, especially when it comes to what you can say out loud." His words hung in the air like a gauntlet, and the audience froze, sensing the light tone of the interview was about to shatter. On May 26, 2025, the spotlights blazed, cameras hummed, and audience smartphones flickered with X posts as Rubin vs. De Niro racked up thousands of comments. "Rubin's going for it." De Niro sat still, his face, hardened by years of roles in Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, calm but with eyes burning with quiet resolve. In 2025, with America torn between free speech and culture wars, and a Pew Research poll showing 62% of Americans calling public discourse toxic, every gesture on such a show could be a triumph or a disaster. Rubin, whose X platform with 1 million followers gave him the power to shape narratives, sensed the moment and went all in. His voice sharpened, with a hint of mockery. "Bob, you're from Hollywood, where everyone's so progressive, right? Tell me, what do you think of kids changing their gender? Hot topic. Some call it freedom, others chaos. Where do you stand?" The question hit like a bullet, designed to corner De Niro in a cultural war where any comment on gender identity could become a target for viral outrage. The audience gasped. Someone tweeted, Rubin just dropped a bomb on Bob. Freedom or chaos. De Niro didn't flinch, his fingers resting on the desk, tightening slightly. He knew it was a trap. Any answer could be twisted beyond recognition on X and TikTok. But when he spoke, his voice was steady, its Brooklyn grit lending weight to every word. Dave, you want me to play your game, but I don't bite at bait like that. Kids make their choices, and I respect their right to decide who they are. The question isn't what I'm for, it's why you think you can judge everyone from that chair. The audience stirred, some nodding, others frantically posting. De Niro shuts it down. Truth exposed. Rubin, unfazed, smirked, his smile broader but his eyes narrowing. "Oh, Bob, you're dodging," he said, his tone even more provocative. "You're one for big statements. So how about this? You back free speech, but when platforms silence people for saying inconvenient things about gender or whatever, you're quiet. Isn't that hypocrisy?" The studio fell silent, save for the soft click of cameras and audience whispers. Phones lit up with posts. Rubin's got De Niro pinned. Down free speech. Rubin pressed on, his voice gaining momentum as if he smelled blood. "You know how it works, Bob. Hollywood, media, big tech, they all play by the same rules. You shout about freedom, but when your buddies cancel someone for a wrong opinion, you clap. So where's your clarity now?" The question landed like a punch, and the audience held its breath, awaiting De Niro's response. He leaned forward, his gaze sharp as a blade. "You want to talk rules, Dave?" he said, his voice low but piercing. "Your rules are about picking who gets to speak and who doesn't. You're not for free speech, you're for your brand. I say, let people talk, even if you don't like it." In the studio corner, Sarah, a young lighting technician who'd been quietly adjusting spotlights, glanced up from her phone, her eyebrows slightly raised. The first sign she was listening. The audience sensed the shift. Some clapped softly, others tweeted, "De Niro fights back." Rubin vs. De Niro. Rubin, feeling the momentum slip, leaned closer, his voice almost sarcastic. "My rules? Bob, you're from Hollywood, where the rules are written backstage. Aren't you one of the guys upholding them?" The tension in the studio was palpable, the air electric. De Niro clenched his jaw, ready for the next move, as X exploded with posts. "This is war. Who's winning? Truth or brand?" The studio waited, breathless, knowing the fight was just beginning. Leaning toward Robert De Niro, Dave Rubin tossed a provocation like a grenade. "Bob, you're a Hollywood icon, but let's be real. Your film about media manipulation, isn't it just a cover for supporting those who cancel others for wrong opinions? You preach free speech, but didn't you cheer when people got kicked off platforms for inconvenient views?" The question struck like lightning, crafted to paint De Niro as a hypocrite before millions on X and TikTok, where every clip could be a verdict. The audience gasped, phones flared with posts. "Rubin just stung De Niro. Shire freedom or brand?" In 2025, with only 16% of Americans trusting media per Gallup and cultural wars tearing the nation apart, this wasn't just a challenge, it was a public trial. De Niro erupted instantly, his face ablaze with fury. "Dave, are you serious?" he thundered, his Brooklyn voice, honed by years of iconic roles, cutting through the studio like a knife. "You sit in your chair with your million followers and dare call me a hypocrite? Your show isn't about truth, it's a circus. You invite people to crush them for clicks, for X trends, for your little throne where you play God, deciding who's right and who's wrong." The studio froze. Cameras zoomed in, capturing his fists clenching on the desk, his eyes blazing. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket, a printout of emails obtained via a Freedom of Information Act request. "Here," he growled, waving the paper. "Proof your big tech buddies shut down my documentary on censorship because it didn't fit their algorithms. And you, Dave, sit here throwing accusations to cover their dirty game." The audience erupted in whispers. Someone tweeted, "De Niro just destroyed Rubin with receipts." Truth exposed. Rubin, his smile gone, tried to push back. "Bob, calm down, it's just papers. You're making a drama out of—" De Niro cut him off, his voice louder. "Drama? These aren't papers, Dave. This is the truth. You and your tech overlords silence voices you don't like and call it freedom? Your show's a stage where you put on an act, and truth's just a prop. In the studio corner, Sarah, the lighting technician, nodded involuntarily, her eyes wide with shock. Her gesture was caught on a secondary camera, going viral on X with the caption, "Crew member backs De Niro. Truth wins." The audience began clapping, hesitantly at first, then louder, as phones lit up with posts hitting 10 million views in an hour. Rubin, sensing he was losing control, managed a weak, "All right, Bob, we'll look at your emails, but let's not make a show of it." It was a retreat, and everyone knew it. De Niro leaned back in his chair, his eyes still burning but tinged with the weariness of challenging a system he'd navigated for decades. When the show ended, a digital storm swept the internet. Clips of De Niro's outburst spread across X and TikTok, amassing 20 million views by midnight. The hashtag #TruthWins trended globally, and Sarah, the technician, became an online hero, her nod immortalized as a symbol of quiet resistance. Rubin's team posted a statement on X promising to review the emails, but his credibility cracked. Within 2 weeks, De Niro's documentary was reinstated on a streaming platform due to public pressure, and debates over free speech, backed by the First Amendment, reignited fiercely. The victory was partial. Big tech still held discourse in a vice, but it proved one voice could break through. In 2025, when truth is a currency rarer than gold, De Niro's explosion on the Rubin Report reminded everyone, authenticity can change the game. Reader, when the system silences truth, will you stand up for it? Share on X because silence is defeat.